So this is my LPing of the coin 2Z, which just launched on Solana and had a massive run up. I didn't actually LP any of this, and this was actually on the retracement when it was listed on the DEXs before it was actually on the KEXs. And this was around the 10 billion level, actually a bit higher at start, around 12 billion. But the volume was crazy. It was really, really high. And in this 20 bin, 0.2% fee pool, which was the one with the most TVL, that had a lot of fluctuation, a lot of volatility. And the main thing with this pool, which you don't normally see, is the fees actually were outprinting the impermanent loss. And this is something which happened a lot back in the day. But even when it was straight red candles, when the volatility within the movement down pays more than when the price actually dumps out the bottom and you're actually in a profit, that is something we rarely see. And it actually happened quite a few times with this token, obviously until the volume dropped too much. But that made it really, really lucrative after we'd already had around a 50% retracement while the volume was still high to make a position within this range. As you can see, just one single range in the 20 bin pool and just put as much Solana as I had. I only had 7 Solana in this wallet because it's kind of what I was doing for the challenge. But you can just see how many fees this creates. So as you just saw, this coin is an insane printer. It just launched, but has a ton of volume. A lot of people LPing on that way up. Some people, took a bit of a loss in that area, but as you can see, the volume is crazy. Over 500k every minute in just this pool, and the price is falling right now. But if you LP'd this area, there was about a 50% gain to be made. We can actually see it's getting very aggressively dumped here. It looks like it's actually going to break down below, almost below the price that opened at. I did make one new position here with a bid ask covering around a 25% range with around 2 positions total, just in case I was preparing for this. As you saw, I did make quite a nice print earlier with literally all we have in this wallet is 7 Solana. We've worked up to from 5 Solana, and now we've just made a bit of a safer position just to be a bit more risk averse, literally because of the dump. I want to risk going tight again. So this is actually quite a unique and crazy example. If you watch my old videos, you'll know you can make a bid-ask curve, and at this point, we'd actually have probably a lot more fees, but the fees outprint the impermanent loss. So what that's saying is, even though the price has dumped so much, a lot of our Solana has been swapped to the token. We're actually still in profit. So if I actually close this out now, I will be in profit, and that's because of just the amount of fees we've been able to generate with such a tight range. And this is not normal in this really day and age. Of course, if I wait out, this dumps out, I will be in a loss. But currently, as it stands, even with these straight red candles, that's what I'm talking about, straight red, but the volume and the fees it has generated outprint what we have lost with the token falling. What we are beginning to see with this token, though, is even though it's dumped and I'm about to go out of range, the fees have slowed down. So earlier on, I'd have been making on this coin up to about 0.4 Solana, I'd think right now, but we can see I'm about to drop out of range. Pretty much I'm dead even on my initial capital hit there. So the fees have fallen off, and I guess that's because of the volume. And this is where you would think that the risk reward has actually fallen in this coin. And this is probably a point where you might consider exiting. The only reason you wouldn't is because, the coin has just fallen over kind of 60%, and if you think this could be a local bottom, I'm not really going to want to close out this position. So this is the Moonwalk token, which just launched. Luckily, I got in the token a bit late. As you can see on the chart, it's on the side, quite small. You can see the token just fell from around 120 million in the last literally 10 minutes. That's just luckily where I set my bid-ask curve, about a 30% range. But it did fall from about kind of 10 billion. I'm not quite sure why it opened so high, but you can see the fees which we've printed. I don't have my live P&L, but I'm probably going to close this out really shortly, as I'm really not sure if this token is really going to be holding up. But you can see with this bid-ask curve, this small one, we printed a lot of fees in a short amount of time. So just a small update, I realized my fees are actually bugged, and that is not $100. That is only about, equal $38. I think the amount of the Moonwalk token is just a bit bugged, as I do only have 2 Solana in. So that pretty much ended up being break even. As you can see, I wanted it to pump a little bit higher, but as you can see, it started dropping out of range and I just closed it to be safe. But as you can see, pretty much break even, no profit, no loss, and I zapped out. But I didn't want to wait to see if it pumped back up. I'd feel safer just closing out right here. So as you can see from this time lapse, I went back in, we went break even, we got out as it broke down from 50 mil at the bottom of our curve, dead on pretty much 0. And then I made a new bid ask curve slightly wider, opened at around 50 million, and my curve went down about 40%. We pretty much got it dead on with the range. Can't really see the chart, but as you can see, we're about to pump back out of range. The fees are almost 0.4 Solana in fees, no impermanent loss. I'm going to go ahead and close this, and that is a nice amount of profit. We'll just go ahead and close that straight up just so I've locked it in. I can always make a new position after. If I generate my P&L, we do end up at the moment with a profit on this coin. So looking at the P&L, you can see at the moment we just got out with a little $100. It's actually pumped straight back up to 50 million, all the way back up. And just for a bit of explanation, what we did just there, we only used bid asks. Spot just did not look right on this coin. It had no green like upwards trajectory. We can see this thing has just pretty much straight dumped from launch. Any kind of spot position, unless you got one right there, maybe at the start, was pretty risky. So went with bid asks just to be slightly safer. And as we saw with both examples, even right at the bottom, due to the volatility and where we had the curve set up with the most of our liquidity at the bottom, we were able to outprint the impermanent loss, even though we went out the bottom of the curves. And as soon as we did drop out, as the price fell, pretty much to the bottom of our curve at 0, made a new position slightly lower down and managed to catch the lower volatility as well, and came out with around $100 profit as it pumped back out. So that's pretty much all of the positions I've done kind of recently. Not done a ton, to be honest. Been playing it really safe, trying to keep my win rate really, really high. The only other one is some of these longer pools like this Uranus pool, where I got a good entry, went back in around 18.5 million where I entered. I think here I missed the big dip down to 16 million. But to be honest, I still believe in this coin. It feels like it could have partially bottomed out here. Of course, we entered over here, LP'd it, and re-entered, went 50-50, and it's been ranging for a little while now. Of course, my range actually does extend down here, but I entered basically where that blue line is. That's been printing well over the last few days, already up about 12%. And then, of course, I have a few positions on the Binance Smart Chain.